You're locked in to Fran Harris's Women's Basketball TV with WNBA champion, NCAA champion, sports announcer, and entrepreneur, Fran Harris. So buckle up, Buttercup. Here's the show.
What's up, everybody? I got a lot of catching up to do on this past week. It's been a huge week of WNBA news. And so we're going to start in reverse, and then I'll do a couple of videos that address specific things that have happened in the WNBA since I saw you guys last weekend. The first thing I want to start with is the firing by the Chicago Sky of Teresa Weatherspoon. Now, for those of you who are on my channel, if you've been through my channel, you've been here a while, you know I'm not about sensationalism. I'm not about bashing people. I'm not about negativity. We're not going to do that here. Y'all can do that somewhere else. But what I have done over the past 30 years is broadcast our game, support our game, uplift our game, build our game and its fandom. And that's what I'll continue to do. I'm never short on my opinion, as y'all know, but I'm not here to act like I know what's happening in the locker room of places where I am not, which is what happens a lot on these apps and on social media. So I'm just going to tell you my thoughts, give you my opinion. Love is always to hear yours, because that's what I say at the end of my videos. But what do you think? What are your thoughts? And opinions are welcome. Disrespect is not. That should be a t-shirt. Okay. Yeah, I like that. Opinions are welcome. Disrespect is not. So I'm not going to be disrespectful to you, and you're not going to be disrespectful to me. All right. So let's jump into Teresa Weatherspoon got fired. Not going to lie, I was not surprised. Now, I wasn't surprised having nothing to do with Teresa Weatherspoon. I was not surprised having everything to do with what I've heard about the Chicago Sky. Again, I'm not here to bash anybody. I'm just telling you, as an insider of women's basketball, as a broadcaster, as a former player, played the WNBA for the Houston Comets and the Utah Stars, as someone who's consulted with players on teams and executives in boardrooms of the WNBA. Yeah, I wasn't surprised. I was shocked, though. I was shocked. And here's why. I'm gonna break it down like in real time about how I felt when I saw that. I'm sitting there, I'm watching a movie on Netflix, and a good friend of mine who's in the W, who is in the W and executive in the W, bing, I got a text. So I'm watching my movie and I'm like, what? Teresa Weatherspoon gets fired by the Chicago Sky. And I'm going, first of all, here are the reasons I was not shocked, okay? Again, this is not personal to anybody. By the way, I love Teresa Weatherspoon. I've known her since she was 17 years old, okay? But I'm also going to keep it a buck. The business is the business, and we all know that. Here are the reasons I was not shocked. Number one, the rumors I've heard about the Chicago Sky organization are not very charitable. I will not get into what those are because I'm a professional. But I have not heard super great things about the Chicago Sky organization. If y'all want to know some of that stuff, then you can see all that stuff online. I'm not here to bash the Chicago Sky. I'm telling you, giving you my opinion about why I was not surprised that Teresa Weatherspoon was fired yesterday. I have not heard super amazing things about the Chicago Sky organization and ownership team. I have not. So I wasn't surprised, because anything can happen when leadership is perceived to be a little wild, wild west. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, the narrative around Teresa Weatherspoon in the Chicago Sky organization, and Mabry left, and Dina Evans was supposedly unhappy, and Angel Reese was getting her double doubles, okay, and that Teresa was allowing her to get her double doubles and leaving her in the game. Now, none of us are in that huddle, so none of us know whether that is true or not. And I don't know whether that is true, but that was the outside narrative. And the terrible thing about the outside narrative and social media is that sometimes it's influential. Sometimes, yes, it influences what an organization will do. I'm not saying that happened in Chicago, but I know the billions of voices and the billions of impressions and the billions of opinion that are heaped upon subject matters these days is off the charts. So it's almost impossible not to let that stuff seep into your psyche and your mental, to the point that it influences you to make a certain decision. So I think that had a part to do with it. As the media outlets have reported, the exit interviews of the Chicago Sky players said that they were very supportive outwardly of Teresa Weatherspoon, but when they had their exit interviews, by the way, exit interviews are just postseason interviews that players have with their organizations at the end of the season. Now, personally, this is my little insert. Personally, I think you need to let the season breathe for a second before you hit up people with exit interviews. I mean that. I've been in corporate America. I've been on teams when you are on a team and you didn't get to play, things didn't go the way you thought they should go, whatever. You have so much negativity to heap on to coaches and teammates and staff and organization and ownership. You cannot wait unless you are a mature individual. You cannot wait to go in there and be negative as hell. I know that for a fact. It takes a mature individual to say, you know what? I'm going to separate my emotion from this. I'm going to be honest and real and fair in this exit interview. Very, very few people can do that. So the Chicago Sky goes from what people thought they were a contender, getting to the playoffs, possibly advancing, to losing 12 of their last 14 games. Also a reason I was not shocked that the Chicago Sky fired Teresa Weatherspoon. This is a business of winning, period. This is a business of winning. And I don't care if it's me, your mama, your daddy, it doesn't matter. It's a business of winning. And it's going to be rare situations that your team does not win, that the organization is going to perceive that you're going to right that ship, that you're going to get that back on track. So those are all me, not surprised based on those things. Here's why I was surprised. Here's why I was shocked. I shouldn't say I was surprised. Here's why I was shocked. Number one, first-year coach. High character coach. I don't have to be in that locker room to know that about Teresa Weatherspoon. I don't. High character coach. Cares coach. Legend of our game. Opportunity to take a team that, let's keep it a buck. If y'all been reading about Chicago, the Chicago Sky has not been in a great space. People leaving, all that stuff before Teresa Weatherspoon got there. So there's going to be a moment. There's going to be a gestation period, if you will, where this team is going to have to figure out who they are, what their culture is, their relationship with their coaching staff, their relationship with each other, what our style is going. There has to be a space to do that. Yeah, there has to be space to do that. And 1 year, unless something egregious has happened, is not enough time. Yeah, if I'm the coach and I've jacked it up for the first year and I'm wilding out, if you will, in my coaching position in year one, and then the owners are looking like, this is wild. What is Fran Harris doing? Then yeah, I get it. But I don't perceive that that's what happened. My perception is young team, superstar comes in, some people got sent to the bench, some people left. I mean, it was a cocktail of nuttiness. I mean, various things happened. It doesn't mean it was irreparable. It doesn't mean that it could not be fixed. It doesn't mean that it was even a terrible situation. You've got to have mature ownership. You've got to have ownership who understands, first of all, the business of sports. The business of sports and the business of people. See, what happens a lot in ownership, especially in sports, is that people become owners for the flex. They become owners because, look, I own a team. I do this. They do. I know owners. And at least half of them bought their teams, and I'm talking about across all the sports and all the genders and all the identities, bought their teams for the flex. Bought it for the flex. Got into sports for the flex, for the courtside seats, for I own a sports team. Few people get into sports for the transformation of young lives, for the transformation of a business landscape that is right for billions, for the community transformation, for the change that you can have in a community. Very few owners get into sports for that reason. That is why Teresa Weatherspoon wants to coach. That is why Teresa Weatherspoon has been in coaching. And so that's why I was shocked. I was shocked because as a responsible owner, I got to be able to take a look at this landscape. I got to be able to look at it from 30,000 feet and go, okay, let's be fair about this. Let's be real about this. We got the players. We got some disgruntled players. We got a new coaching staff. We got some dynamics that have never been in place. Social media, the media, all this stuff. How can we be fair? How can we do what's right for the organization? Because ultimately, you need to do what's right for the women, number one. Very close second, if you will, the shareholders. Okay, so sometimes what you do well for the women is not going to feel good to the shareholders. But if you know what you're doing as an owner, as a leader, the shareholders will follow your lead. I hope y'all feeling what I'm putting down right now. Do what is best for the women, the team, the athletes. They should not be second or third. They should be first. I'm not sure that's the case in all places. Do what's best for the athletes. Because if it's best for the athlete, the culture is going to survive. The culture is going to thrive. This is going to be a place where people want to come grow their careers. That's what's going to happen if you're doing what's right for the athletes. I'm not in their boardrooms. Don't pretend to be in their boardrooms. But I have been an athlete all of my life. And I have been in situations and teams where clearly the ownership cared. And I have been in a situation where clearly the ownership did not care. And this is given. You know what? This is given. This is giving erratic behavior. This is giving, oh, we're just going to do this because the player said this. We're just going to do this because we don't like. Again, I opened this video by saying, I ain't in the locker room. You, neither are you. I ain't in the boardroom. Neither are you. But my 30 plus years of experience as a sports executive, as the owner of my own sports companies, as a professional athlete in the W, as someone who supported the W, who's been a broadcaster in the W for over 20 years, I know what I'm seeing. And this is why I was shocked. 1 year, unless something, my caveat, my big flashing light, unless something egregious happened, even a 12-14 record, 12-14 in the last 14 games, even that's not enough to fire a coach. Unless that 12 or 14, those losses, those 12 or 14 losses was an indication of something way more than we know. As you notice, I'm not the all-knowing basketball god. I'm super knowledgeable, but I firmly acknowledge, and as should you, that you are not in the locker room. You are not in the boardroom. You do not know what's going on in Chicago. And I know that's not going to stop y'all. Some of y'all that just love to do what you do. That's not going to stop y'all from getting online saying, well, I'm glad this happened and this happened. And, and I know that's not going to stop y'all. We're not going to be able to put the top back on the internet. We're not going to be able to do that. But I would say this, I would implore you to have some grace for the Chicago Sky organization, even though you might be angry with them right now, or you might be happy that they did what they did. Some grace for Coach Teresa Weatherspoon in no particular order here, and some grace for the young women who are dealing with it, however they're dealing with it today, whether they're on the plus side of it or the negative side of it, whether they're happy or they're sad about it, whatever. Have some grace. Have some grace. What are your thoughts on the Chicago Sky's sudden decision? It looks sudden to us, their decision to fire Teresa Weatherspoon. What are your thoughts?
That's all for now. Before you bounce, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and check out the merch.